guys, Frs Guy here, doing another video. This one's going to be on should I run E85, in my experience with E85. Should you run it for the ADDs? Yes. Run it, buy it, worth the expense, worth the horsepower, cheapest fuel, just get it. Alright, that's in a summary what this video is about. Obviously, we're going supercharged. I don't know if I have all my supercharged videos out yet, but they're coming. About the installation. It's going to be a while before we can actually drive it and give you some actual real content. Okay, I've got one little test hit in the driveway. It was in the middle of the night. It was crazy loud. So it's not that big of a hit, but a little something. Should you run E85 and all the horror stories and all that? I saw the horror stories, everything, but I kept listening to people who, every person in this car who ran it loved it. Okay? And I'm telling you, if you have high compression, and they have tuning available and a flex fuel kit available for your car, get E85. Hands down, just do it. Don't think about it. Game over. Especially if you're going to go to more mods down the road. Is it expensive? Yes. They tell you on this car you don't need a fuel pump to run it. You actually do need a fuel pump to run it. I didn't figure that out till the end of the season, because everything I did made it better, but I still was running out of fuel. But it still runs much better and runs pretty good without that. Let's see, where are the horror stories? The only thing about E85 that I would say is a negative is it is slightly more corrosive. So if your car has to sit for long periods of time, that is not going to be probably the best fuel to use. Okay? Like my car sitting in winter, I went back to 93. I run my gas out of it, but then use some kind of fuel treatment. This is what I use on this car. I think this is the more expensive stuff. It gets the fancy fuel conditioner, and that's going to help too, putting something like that in there. So maybe if you run a fuel conditioner in it, it'll be okay to store. I can't guarantee that. It does dry out the cylinders. You could have rust. I start my car during the winter anyways, just because of engine things I know about the engines. You don't want your engine sitting with the valve all the way open. That's bad for the valve springs. So you want to turn these over a little bit here and there, and then hopefully most engines will shut off on the least resistance part of the engine. But then you re-lubricate the cylinders and things like that, and re-lubricate the system, the fuel system and all that is good for it. But that'd be the only negative, is storing it. Like if you have a drag car, maybe sitting a week isn't that bad, but if it's sitting more than a week, that might not be good in a drag car. So then you might want to just run regular race fuel. That race fuel is like expensive. I think race fuel is up to $10, anywhere from $6 to $10 a gallon, and ethanol in our area is like $2.50 a gallon. And they're doing tests. The tuning school on YouTube, I'm not promoting, just saying, it's on YouTube, look for it for yourself. I'm just saying they have tested almost every fuel, and as far as I'm concerned, pump E85 won, hands down, everything. The race E85 gave you just slightly, maybe 10 more horsepower, but cost almost as much as race gas. So it's not, for me, that's not worth it. Everyone keeps saying that ethanol comes out of pump, it's not E85. I don't know where you're buying gas, and maybe some states it's like that, but in Wisconsin, our gas is good quality, so I don't understand that. I get the same every time. I mix mine half and half, which gives me about E40, and there has never been, it's like anywhere between E40 and E41. There's never been a time I checked that it's not that, so I don't know why people are saying that you don't get E85 out of the pump. That might have been at one time. That might have been like 20 years ago when it first came out. The one that came out 20 years? 15? 10? I don't know. When it first came out. But yeah, I get E85 every time. And honestly, nobody's running full E85. Okay, you're running a mix of E85. Even at Dyno School test, they were only running half and half, and it was better than race gas. Made more power. So why do you run flex fuel? Is because it makes the most power and is the cheapest. and it runs clean. It's better for your engine. There's videos on YouTube about them burning regular 93 octane compared to ethanol, and ethanol burns clear, and then the regular pump gas has soot. The problem with pump gas is the gas itself isn't that bad. It's all these crazy additives that they're putting into it is horrible for the environment and horrible for your engine. So not only is ethanol better for power and performance and for your engine, it's also better for the environment by a lot. That other gas is super. I didn't realize it was that dirty when it burned. It's filthy, dirty gas. That's why there's carbon everywhere on your engine. And that's why it runs like shit. Or crap. Sorry, that snuck out. That's why it runs like crap. What else? What else about E85? What's the other myth? Basically, you're not getting E85 out of the pump. And who cares if you are? You have a flex fuel sensor. Just check your mix. But that's not true. It might change over, like in winter, but you're not driving this car in winter. Okay, especially not here. But if you're down south, maybe there's a winter mix and your ethanol content's off a little bit, then guess what? Put another gallon in. Not a big deal. Just run your whatever percent you want to run on your car. Run that percentage. If you have to add another gallon of that of E85, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. So, myth one is you don't get E85 at the pump. People keep saying that, but you do. In Wisconsin, you get E85 at the pump. Doesn't matter. You're not running full E85 anyways. Okay. We're not getting. You don't need that. So there's not worth extra effort. What else? It is corrosive a little bit, so that'd be the only thing. If your vehicle has to sit a long time, don't store it with E85, and you have to switch back to 93, or regular pump gas, and then add additive into it also. Okay? If you do have to sit for a week at a time, at least put the additive in there as a minimum safety precaution. But the benefits are going to be horsepower. The next benefit is on this, with the supercharger on here, you're going to break your engine on pump gas at some point, okay? That E85 is going to protect your engine from braking because it burns slower, and it's burning as that piston's going down, which creates the extra torque. It also runs cooler, so it's cooling down your intake charge, so there's less detonation. Like E85 doesn't really detonate, okay? It could, but if it detonates, you're really got a problem. You're going to lose power before it detonates. So your tune is way off if you have detonation problems with E85. So basically, you're not going to detonate with this fuel, which means you're probably not going to break your motor. So if everything's right, if you have the right fuel mixture, even if you're just close. Nice thing about E85 is there's a lot more flexibility than pump gas. That pump gas is so more volatile that if your mix is off, you can blow the motor up. E85, technically, you're supposed to run it leaner. When you net out all the numbers, well, here's another. We're getting to another category with E85. Let me just get into it then. Another thing with E85 is it's the tuning on it is pretty easy. It's not a mystery. I'm going to give you that secret right now. I'm not going to go through all the details on this video, but I'm going to tell you the net result is basically you're running almost the same fuel ratio, because when everything nets out, your sensor is going to read it very similar. The net result is the same as what your fuel that you're running now. So you can go anywhere from 1 point leaner to the same, maybe slightly richer. Okay, so you're running almost the same fuel. The big secret is basically you're probably not changing your fuel ratio for optimal power. It's like magic. It was way easier than I thought. Way easier. So that's a little secret there. So then, but it has one more flexibility. So if it is running leaner or richer, that's not going to break the motor. Where with 93, with regular pump gas, if you're running leaner, you could break the motor, because now your detonation chances go way up. Okay, and by lean means like if your pump or something is running short on fuel, there's a much higher chance of breaking the motor. With ethanol, if your ratio goes from 12 to 13, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to have a little bit less power. Or 93, if you're running at tons of timing, you could technically maybe break the motor if it leans out that much. So it's much safer. It's the cheapest horsepower you can buy. It's the best for the engine. It's better for the environment. There's really, the only negative is storing it in that it can be a little, it can cause your cylinders and things to rust if it sits in there for too long. But if you're driving it every day, you're not going to have a problem. It's actually going to clean the carbon off stuff. It's going to clean the oil. When I pulled this is my PVC project. You have to run a catch can, guys. You have to. I'm still routing this. That's why I didn't cut this hose yet. I want one hose. I don't want it pieced together. I'm still sorting that out. With the stock PVC, basically you're going right from the valve cover right to the engine. And these Subaru engines really don't blow that much oil, but my whole intake was coated with oil, the whole thing. But from the fuel injector down, from the flex fuel, the inside of the port, you could see where the injector was spraying was washed clean. So running that E85 actually cleaned the oil from right where the fuel injector was spraying. It cleaned the oil off the ports. The sides of the ports I actually had to clean by hand. There was actually literally oil on the inside of my intake ports from running the factory PVC for 3 years. Coated the whole intake system with oil, all the way from the throttle body through the whole intake ports, back of the valves had carbon, everything coated with oil because of the factory PVC. The E85 cleans that stuff off of there from the port down. Your intake still has oil in it, so you're still getting oil injection from that, and then you have to reroute this PVC, and I'll do a separate video on that. You cannot run that into the engine. That's oil injection. That wrecks your engine. Okay? Just ask those VW guys with the carbon. And I think the Ford guys are going to start running that too with their EcoBoost is a direct injection motor. And then those things are going to be all full of carbon. You have to run a canister, get that oil, or get that oil, out of your intake tract. Okay? And there's 2 ways to do that. We'll do another video on that. That's it. So yeah, should you run E85? Yes. It's more cost effective. It's better for the environment. It makes more power. It's safer for your engine. Just don't sit there and store it for 2 months and pull your car back out and be like, oh man, something's wrong. You know, if you're going to store it that long, you have to change the fuel out. I would just change it out. Not that hard. Just run that tank dry, fill up with 93, put a fuel additive in it, and that's it. Other than that, the other than that is the cost. Now you're going to need a tune, so you're going to need a custom tune on it, and then your fuel system may or may not support E85. My fuel system does support E85, so it's very easy to upgrade. I still need a better fuel pump. That fuel filter could be a little clogged on the pump. We'll find out when we pull it out, but it's getting a new pump anyways. So for this car, it's worth the cost. And again, if you have a car that needs that has that requirement, which most cars do, like this truck has 10-to-1 compression, that you would not waste the money on putting E85 in it. I can get enough power with 93. I can actually run 87 on it. If I want a little more power, I run 93. This car barely runs on 93 with the 12.5-to-1 compression. So if you have that high compression, you're going to need E85. If you're running a turbo or you have boost, you're going to want to run E85. You just run a normally naturally aspirated low compression motor, that's not worth the cost. Okay, so let me put that in there. If you're running a low compression engine, do not get E85. If you're running high compression or boost, then you would get E85. And it's worth the money because in the end, now you're spending $2 a gallon for race gas, and you're protecting your engine, and you're being better for the environment, everything. That's it. Should you get E85? Yes, you should.